Eagles coaching staff is starting to come together a little bit. This is the Eagle Eye Podcast, brought to you by Nissan. Reuben Frank and Dave Zangaro. Rube, how you doing?
Doing well.
Yeah, so we had an emergency podcast on Wednesday night all about the departure of Jeff Stoutland. So we'll talk about Stout a little bit on this pod. But if you haven't seen or listened to that one, it's about 20, 25 minutes of all Jeff Stoutland. So feel free to go check that one out.
Yeah, a lot of comings and goings on the coaching staff, both directions.
Yeah, and that, especially, and we'll talk about Vic Fangio definitely returning. We have a few other like leftover items on Jeff Stoutland, but I think for me, the big takeaway so far of the last week or so is that this is going to be a completely new offensive staff, and I think it just coincides with, hey, like this is going to be a new scheme. This is going to be an overhaul offensively. So get ready for that. I think it's going to look a lot different in 2026.
Yeah, and after watching the offense in 2025, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think it's a good thing. Like, you cannot, like, losing Jeff Stoutland is bad. You don't want to lose Jeff Stoutland. He's an excellent coach, but we talked all year that this offense really needed an overhaul, and at least it looks like that's what they're doing. And it looks like it's going to be some version of the Shanahan, McVay, in vogue offense, and I think that's a good thing. There's a reason those guys have been so successful with what they run.
Yeah, and we're seeing that Sean Mannion has some, a lot of say in what the staff is going to look like, and I think that's a good thing. I think that's kind of reassuring for people that thought this was just going to be some young kid that Nick could control. During the interview process, Nick promised autonomy, and if he's bringing in guys from that Packers staff, that tells you that these are his guys, this is his staff, and it's not Nick's staff, and that's important.
Yeah, they're in the process of building out this staff, so as you're listening to this, there might be updates that we're not able to hit in this podcast. We'll get to all of them eventually, but the one name we do know is Ryan Mahaffey. Has been hired as their tight ends coach / run game coordinator. So he'll kind of take over for one half of Jeff Stoutland's responsibilities. That run game coordinator component of this is really important, especially as they're installing this new scheme.
Yeah, and he has offensive line in his background. I think he was an assistant O-line coach for a year in Green Bay. He's a guy that played in the league. I think he was in a couple training camps. He was with Harbs as a rookie. So there's that connection. I believe he was a fullback in college.
He was.
So yeah. I'm sure you're a big fan of that. You're a big fullback guy.
Good news for Carson Steele today.
and maybe Ben Van Sumeren if he can get healthy. But yeah, I think that's significant that it's a guy from his tree, kind of from his background, and not another Colts cast off or guy that Nick was with in San Diego or wherever. I think it has to be different. I think this offense has to be different in as many ways as possible. And you don't want to see Stout go. Everybody loves Stout, and he's a great coach. But I guess that's just that's what this offseason is going to be about. And you want the new guy to have his own people here, and that's what he's going to have.
Yeah, it's so tough because obviously it's not a good thing to lose Jeff Stoutland. No one should paint it like a good thing, but there are good things involved in this offseason. It's like, it looks like, the Mannion hire in itself was a really big swing, but it seems like it's a part of an even bigger swing to really kind of change what this offense has been, because like, even when the Eagles were successful, they were really living and dying off of the talent on their roster, which, in and of itself isn't necessarily the worst thing, but I don't think they were maximizing that talent because the scheme wasn't good enough.
Yeah, you're right. And you've made the point that even in the year they won the Super Bowl 2 years ago, there were moments of frustration with the offense during the regular season. I mean, they got hot at the end of the year and going into the postseason, but really, whoever the OC has been, we've seen the same frustrations from Nick's offense. And that's something that they needed to get past, and I think they've taken some steps to do that.
Yeah. And look, I've already had friends ask me like, yeah, but what happens if they're really good and then Mannion leaves, and you have to start over? It's like, yeah, I get that. It's not an ideal setup, but like this is kind of the confines of where they are with this coaching staff and the decision to keep Nick. And I don't think they were going to fire Nick a year removed from a Super Bowl. So it's kind of just the situation they're in right now.
Yeah. And if you're really good and he gets a head coaching job, then you're really good and you can kind of deal with it. Just like after Shane left after a Super Bowl season and after Kellen left after a Super Bowl season. So yeah. And Frank Reich left after a Super Bowl season. So who's now the OC with the Jets, by the way. So congratulations to Frank. Good to see him back in the league. Good luck up there. But if that's the price you pay for being really good and maybe getting to a Super Bowl, winning 12 or 13 games and having the offense that they should have, then you kind of accept it.
Yeah. And worth noting, the other part of Mahaffey's job is going to be tight ends coach, which had been Jason Michael for the last 5 years under Sirianni. So that's another significant departure. Jason Michael came with Nick from Indianapolis. He was the tight ends coach under Frank Reich, and Nick in Indy comes to Philly with Nick Sirianni. So that's another one of Nick's guys gone. I think that's significant too.
Yeah, no question about it. He's been with Nick a long time, just like Patullo, and they were together on that staff. And, you know, I like Jason, and I think he's a good coach. You see what Goddard's done over the years. But, yeah, I mean, I think change is really good. And, I you know, you don't want to see guys leave who've been here a long time. And I'm sure it's tough for Nick. I mean, he's been with these guys forever. And, you know, he doesn't know some of these new guys coming in, I'm sure. But if you're going to give the new coordinator autonomy, and if you promise him that, and if you think that's the best way to get the most qualified candidate, you got to live by that. If that means saying goodbye to coaches you've been with for years, so be it. That's the price you pay, and that's what we're seeing. And I'm all for it.
Yeah, and I think Nick, and this is going to sound like a criticism of him. It's not. I think he's more of a survivor than a Doug Peterson. Like, I think Nick is going to kind of do what he needs to do to keep that job. And that's not a bad thing. Like, there's only 32 of these jobs. He's worked his whole life to get this job. I think Doug was more willing to die on a hill, a particular hill, a Press Taylor hill, more than Nick is. I mean, we've seen Nick now fire DK McDonald, who is really close with, fire Kevin Patullo, be willing to move on from Jason Michael. Like, these are guys he's close with. And either he believes it's in the best interest of the team or in the best interest of him keeping his job, whatever it is, like, he's willing to do it.
Press Taylor Hill sounds like a Civil War battlefield, doesn't it? Don't go take the tour of Press Taylor. But yeah, I agree with that. And I mean, I admire Doug for standing up for his guys and sticking for what he believes in, but it cost him his job. And he got another one for a few years, but yeah, I think Nick understands how to play the game, and he understands what Jeff Lurie is looking for. And, you know, right now he's in the process of providing it.
Yeah. Sorry. So we know that Mahaffey has been in a bunch of different positions coaching wise in Green Bay. I like that varied background. You mentioned O-line, receivers most recently. So he has a varied background, and I think that might help as a run game coordinator because he knows all of those different aspects.
Yeah. I remember Jim Johnson telling me that you want coaches to have varied backgrounds. And, you know, he was an offensive player. He in college and in the NFL, he was a tight end. He was a quarterback in college and became one of the greatest defensive coordinators ever. Juan Castillo was a linebacker, became a really good offensive line coach. I do think that having that varied background is big. And Jim Johnson was the first person who told me how important that was, to really have a 360-degree feel for the game. And obviously, to be an offensive coach, you have to understand defenses. You have to know what they're doing. But if you coach that side of the ball or played on that side of the ball, I think you have a better. And now he hasn't been on defense, but he does have a varied background. I think that's important. And
Yeah, especially if you're going to be a coordinator of any type, right? Like it's one thing to just coach a position. You worry about, hey, you're coaching receivers, worry about technique, worry about how it fits in the offense. But if you're going to be the run game coordinator, I think it's more important that you understand the different elements involved in the run game.
yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting that, I mean, it's tight ends and run game coordinators, an interesting combination that we haven't seen. But obviously, there's a lot of overlap, depending who the tight end is. With and he gets here without a tight end on the roster, without his tight end signed. So that's an interesting. I'm sure he hopes Dallas Goedert is back. I don't know if I take that job if he's not, but
well. I mean, although like there's also a chance that you get the draft one,
yeah,
and kind of build a guy from scratch, which is intriguing to coaches as well.
Yeah, and there's a chance that that guy's just not available when the Eagles are picking, and you never know what you're going to have. But yeah, I do like that. It's kind of an unusual resume that he has: O-line, wide receivers, tight ends. He's done a little bit of everything.
Yeah. Let's move on to quarterbacks coach. The Eagles are changing that position too, it appears. So Scott Loeffler will be out after one season, which is like, we talk about the revolving door at offensive coordinator. It's been quite a revolving door at quarterbacks coach too. In Jalen's career, he had Press Taylor for a year, Brian Johnson for 2, Alex Tanney for 1, Doug Nussmeier for 1, now Scott Loeffler for 1, and it's going to be a new guy in 2026.
Yeah, we talk so much about all the different coordinators he's had, but he's had just as many quarterbacks coaches, and he's had a bunch of passing game coordinators. I mean, he's had so many different voices in his head over the years that it's not ideal. And this is going to be another offense. He has to learn new terminology, most likely, new people, new ways of communicating. He believes it's held him back, and I agree with that. You just hope that this process is seamless, and they can get on that same page, that proverbial same page, quickly. But it's not an ideal situation. Now, I don't know how great his relationship was with Scott Loeffler. They spoke a lot on the sidelines. You could see that they were always talking. But it's not an easy thing for him to. Plus, he had a different OC in the Pro Bowl games. So
for that flag football game,
yeah. So
he was out there. He looked like he was actually having fun. Did you see any of the clips of it?
I saw some clips. Yeah, that's about it.
I like when we actually see Jalen having fun.
Doesn't happen. We don't really see that.
It's like refreshing a little bit. He has fun on the football field sometimes, but like that was like very loose, relaxed Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, it was good to see. Somebody tweeted out his stats. I'm like, come on, it's not even football.
I saw like the advanced stats from the flag football game. That was funny. It was like EPA per play. Yeah, it was good stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think it's ideal, and I think that's another challenge for whoever comes onto the staff as passing game coordinator or quarterbacks coach, and for Sean Mannion as well.
Well, Grizzard is the passing game.
Yeah, but I'm quarterbacks coach specifically. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of change.
Yeah. So we know 2 of the names involved in the quarterbacks coach search. You want to start with the old guy or the young guy?
Young guy.
Young guy. Okay. Connor Senger, who's been a really hot name this offseason, has spent some time in Arizona, interviewed for the offensive coordinator job under Ben Johnson in Chicago. So that alone is like, oh, Ben Johnson's interested in this guy. I'm interested in this guy too. Also in consideration for the Bills quarterbacks job and the Packers quarterbacks coach job, which is available because Sean Mannion is now here.
Yeah, and the one thing he and Nick have in common is Jacoby Brissett. He coached Jacoby Brissett, who played well this year after Kyler Murray got hurt. Obviously, you always hear Nick talk about Jacoby Brissett. When we had joint practices where was it, in Cleveland when Brissett was with the Browns?
Mm-hmm.
That's all he talked about. It's one of his favorite guys. Keenan Allen. There's certain guys that just,
Kenny G, Austin Eckler.
He loves him some Austin Eckler. I wonder what guys from this team he'll like at his next stop. Who are the guys he's always going to talk about? Like, obviously he'll talk about Jalen, but I just wonder who like the supporting cast type of guys.
Well, it's interesting now he's a head coach, so maybe some defensive guys. I would think like a Jordan Davis.
Yeah.
Will be one. On offense, he'll probably always talk about like Landon's toughness, something like that.
He'll talk about Devontae a lot.
Oh, Lane and Devontae.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's an interesting guy. He was out there with Gannon. He was actually there the year before Gannon on the Minority Coaching Fellowship, which is a great program.
Some good coaches in the league started that way. Gerard Johnson, I believe, another one.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's an intriguing guy and really highly regarded around the league right now.
Yeah. So that would be kind of not to keep going back to this phrase, but the big swing of the group, right? Like he's the young kind of flashy coach. I think I'm a bigger fan of the old standby Greg Olson, not TV's Greg Olson, but the veteran coach Greg Olson, Olson, not En. He's been doing this a long time, a lot of time. He coached Sean Mannion with the Rams, with the Seahawks, so he knows him well. He's been either a quarterback's coach or an offensive coordinator in the league for 25 years. So I like the idea of pairing him with the young offensive coordinator. To me, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I'm with you. Senga's an intriguing guy, but I think you really need to have that veteran guy on the staff. That guy that's seen it all and been through it all, and the calming presence, the wise dude that has been through everything and has coached everybody. I think it's a good name.
And I think it makes sense for Jalen and where he's at in his career too. Like Tim, and it's like you bring the young guy in, not that you have to think about this way. We're talking about you couldn't think of that this way with the coordinator either, but there's a good chance he leaves in a year. Like, I don't know if Olson's getting another OC job. Maybe he does. He was just an interim OC last year, replacing Chip Kelly with Las Vegas, which is always like fun to tie these things together. But I don't know if he's going to jump for whatever OC job becomes available if he's enjoying his time here and if things are going well. So to me, that would be the hire. It's not like a surprising name to come up. I think even before they were like reportedly linked to him, I think everyone was already doing that linking because he's available. There's familiarity. I think it would make the transition way more seamless.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that would make a lot of sense in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. So we talked about Jeff Stoutland on the Emergency podcast. It was kind of fresh then. We had just like heard the news. We're reacting to it in real time. We've had now 12 hours, more than that, to kind of let it sink in a little bit. Do you have any other thoughts on the Jeff Stoutland departure than you did last night?
Not really. For me, just how much I'll miss having him around. We talked about that yesterday. Beyond the coaching part, just the person. He's just such a good guy. And I think he's had such an impact on the whole team, not just on the offensive linemen. I think everybody looks up to Stout, even defensive guys. Everybody respects him and appreciates him. And so it's more than you're just losing a position coach. You're losing a lot more than that.
Yeah, we should mention some really good reporting from Tim McManus of ESPN, kind of giving the backstory of last year, how it all went down. And I think that is important. Basically, like Stoutland felt a little disrespected by the way Nick Sirianni and Kevin Patullo started to basically insert their own run plays without like really telling him as much. So I think based on that reporting, it left a little sour taste in his mouth. And per Tim, it made him reconsider whether or not he wanted to be here, which if all that's true, not a great look for the head coach.
Yeah, it seems like it could have been handled a lot better. I mean, there's ways to make those changes without insulting a guy who's been a legend here for a decade plus. It sounds like it could have been handled a lot better.
Yeah. So curious to see what happens with Stout. He's under contract, so I can't imagine the Eagles are going to let him just go coach. I know everyone in New York is like, man, the Giants should hire him. The Giants should hire. I can't imagine the Eagles are going to let him go coach the Giants this year. So my guess is that he sits out this season. He's around the Eagles in some capacity, and then maybe he weighs his options in 27.
Yeah, if I'm Stout, I'm not sure how much I want to help this franchise right now. I mean, obviously he's got connections with the players, but
yeah, I mean, he's such a he cares. Those are his guys. So like, if Jordan Mailata needs something, what's he gonna say?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I mean, if he needs something, it's hard for me to picture him being at practice or being in the building after all this. I don't think it ended particularly well. I think Nick could have handled it better. It makes you wonder if, and look, the running game did get better in the second half of the year. So, I mean, there's that. You can't ignore that part of it, but that doesn't justify the way they handled it.
Yeah, and look, we're hearing bits and pieces. No one will ever truly know the full picture of it all, but you're right. I mean, it doesn't seem like it went particularly well at the end there. So we'll have to kind of monitor that and see what happens with Stout going forward, because I do get the sense that he still wants to coach at some point.
Yeah, I don't know that. I hope he does, and I hope he finds the right situation. Yeah.
I have a couple other like leftover Stoutland thoughts. We talked about Lane and what it could mean for his future. We're speculating on that a little bit, and I think it's tough to not speculate on that when we know he's already long in the tooth about retirement age anyway. I started thinking about Jordan Mailata a little bit more because, yes, Stout's the only coach Lane has had in the NFL. Stout is the only coach Jordan has ever had. I mean, that's got to be such a shock to him. I mean, he didn't play football before he came to the Eagles, really. So I'm curious how he'll handle this transition because, some coaches teach things differently, and all he's ever had is the way Jeff Stoutland coaches it and teaches it. So I'm curious to see how he in particular handles this transition.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think he's at the point in his career where, I mean, he's going to be open to coaching, and we know Jordan always talks about how he feels like he could be better. So I'm sure he'll make the best of it. And he's a pro, but yeah, it's got to be very tough. I mean, the same's true of Landon and Cam. Those guys never had any other coaches. None of them did.
Well, no, I mean, but they played high level college football.
Sure, yeah, but on this level, but for Jordan, it's the only guy he's ever worked with.
Yeah, I mean, they really started from the ground up with Mailata. So, those other guys have spoken a different language before. Jordan has only spoken Stoutland. So I think it's going to be a tricky thing for him going forward.
Yeah, I have faith that he'll be able to navigate through that.
Okay.
Just knowing what we know of Jordan Mailata, and I think he's become a real student of the game. So, yeah.
My other thought was about acquiring talent for the offensive line. Jeff Stoutland has been here for 13 years. I don't know if there's a position coach in the NFL where the front office listened to them more about the players they're acquiring, specifically in the draft. We've heard Stout talk for years about the critical factors, what's unusual about this guy. He would tell you, if he turns on the tape and there's nothing unusual about that player, he's going to the next player. He wants something unusual. He wants something that makes them who they are. And I wonder how different the organization's philosophy will be at that position without him as the offensive line coach.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. They really do trust him, or they have trusted him over the years. And, he works tirelessly on draft stuff. I mean, he spends the whole spent. I got to start using the past tense, but he would spend months on players, and he'd write them up. He'd watch film, and they listened to him and trusted him. And it's one of the
he'd
reasons.
pound the table for guys.
I'm sorry.
He'd pound the table for guys like he believed in, and they'd listen to him.
Yeah. Yeah. So
it also makes me wonder, like, there have been so many like day 3 undrafted project type players that they've been willing to spend either roster spots or practice squad spots on because they had this faith that he would develop them into at least functional players. Like, I wonder if the roster construction ends up changing with his departure.
Well, I'm sure Howie believes he can do it without Stout. Howie,
like, maybe you can identify them. You might not be able to develop them at that rate.
Yeah. I mean, there are other good O-line coaches out there, and we'll see who they end up hiring for that spot. But yeah, it's a big loss in a lot of ways. You just illustrated a couple big ones.
Yeah, I guess my big point is that, like, how many position coaches in the NFL have their roots this deep into an organization where, like, their departure changes so many different aspects of the way the organization functions? Like, not many, I wouldn't think.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's unique in a lot of ways, and that's certainly one of them.
Yeah. I didn't want to bury this lead. We mentioned it at the top of the show. Vic Fangio coming back for this season. We knew it was leaning that way, but now it looks like he is officially coming back. Jeff McClain of the Inquirer reported on Wednesday night, which was good timing by Jeff. Nice to give the fans a bone there because people were losing it about Jeff Stoutland leaving. But the good news is Vic Fangio is back for a 3rd season. That's a big deal.
Yeah, and nobody's irreplaceable, but man, he's close to being irreplaceable. What a football mind, what a defensive mind. And this defense would be so different without him here. The way he calls a game. I mean, they have good players, some very good players, but the way he calls a game, the way he makes adjustments, the way he's able to really understand what opposing offenses are doing and how to stop it. I've just never seen anything like it. We've seen some really good defensive coaches here, but he's as good as anybody doing that stuff. And yeah, it's huge having him back.
Well, that's the thing. It's like they could get someone in here to run a version of the scheme. I mean, they could, if they needed to, they could have promoted Clint Hurt to do it, and he's going to run a version of the scheme. But game day is a little different, Like, that guy just has a knack for, like, his experience, and we've talked about it before. He seems to push the right button almost every single time. You'd miss that element of it almost as much as anything else.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's Vic. As good as he is during the week on game days, he's just brilliant. And I think that's where you would miss him the most. And it's funny because he'll say, there's no such thing as halftime adjustments. You're always adjusting. He says, by the time I get into the locker room, I only have a few minutes anyway because I walk slow and I got to get back out. But
can't whatever he does, golf cart?
Does he do a golf cart?
No, I'm saying, can't they give him Dom's golf cart? Let him get into halftime and get to the adjustments a little quicker?
Well, whatever he's doing is working. So
actually, they do use a golf cart, don't they? Because they come down from the booth.
Right. Yeah, he's upstairs. So I think that's his greatest value is calling a game and figuring out how they're getting gashed and how to stop it.
Yeah, I'd miss him. I'd miss the shots of him in the booth. Every once in a while, you get a good disgusted Vic Fangio look. I love that.
Yeah. Generally, when Keely Ringo's out there, there was a few of those in that Washington game.
Yeah.
Who was the guy who was like throwing all the stuff around? Remember, he was in the booth. He was like picked up all his stuff and was throwing it against the wall.
Eagles coach?
No, it was a guy in the league. It was great video. I can't remember who it was.
I feel like I've seen that a bunch with
completely flipped out. Just started throwing everything.
That's fun. I like that.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, you need that a little bit.
I'd promote that guy.
Always a good move. All right, so that's what we know on the coaching staff. We'll keep monitoring that. over the next few weeks as it comes together. Let's take a break. When we come back, I want to talk about the Super Bowl a little bit, get your prediction. We'll talk about some favorite Super Bowl memories from the past, and then we'll answer some questions.
You deserve a car that thrills you, a car that puts goosebumps on your goosebumps. At Nissan, we've got everything from turbocharged SUVs to 100% electric vehicles that'll make your heart beat faster. Experience the thrill for yourself and shop your local Nissan store and nissanusa.com today.
Escape the cold and catch the Phillies in Clearwater with NBC Sports Philadelphia and Philly Sports Trips. We're teaming up to bring fans the most unforgettable Philly spring training experience yet. The trip includes Phillies game tickets, beachfront accommodations, round-trip travel, all-inclusive tailgates, and more, plus appearances from Larry Boa, Charlie Manuel, and NBC Sports Philadelphia's own Ben Davis. Book your trip today at phillysportstrips.com. Roob, we're back here. Eagle Eye Podcast brought to you by Nissan. Big game this weekend. You excited for the Super Bowl?
I am. It's the last football game, which is always sad. The season's going to be over. I just love watching football. So, you start missing it like last Sunday. There's no games for the first time since the summer. But, yeah, I am looking forward to it. And it's just, like I said before, it's just weird not being there. We're kind of used to being there. So it'll be strange being home. But looking forward to the game. I think it's a really intriguing game. I think it's going to be a close game. I do like Seattle to win it.
It's 4.5 point spread right now. Seattle is favored. Little injury on the pool report. It's funny, those pool reports, so the way it works during Super Bowl week is that just one reporter is allowed to go to the NFC practice. One reporter is allowed to go to the AFC practice. They normally get a quick quote from the coach, tell you anything. It's normally not much in there, honestly. But there was something pretty significant in Wednesdays. Nick Emanwari hurt his ankle.
Yeah, he rolled his ankle in practice. And I'm sure he's going to try to play because why wouldn't you? But that's concerning.
It's a big injury. I mean, he's a big part of what they do defensively in Seattle.
He is, yeah. So hopefully he's okay. Yeah, those pool reports, you wait all day for him and you get him, and there's like nothing there.
Normally, there's always like a good nugget, like, this coach showed up and talked to the team, or they played this song as, like something like fun, not normally like a big injury update like that.
Yeah. And they'll tell you like what they worked on, which we don't get during the regular season because there's not that one person out there. Yeah. It would be kind of nice if we had a pool reporter at practice every day.
I would do it. I'd be happy to do it.
Yeah. But yeah, that was significant, certainly.
So I'm with you. I think Seattle's going to win this game. Do you have a score in mind?
I don't, but let's go. I think it'll be played in the 20s. I'll go Seattle 29, Patriots 24.
Okay. I have a slightly lower score. I have 24-19. Okay. But same idea. Yeah. And look, could the Patriots win? Sure. I think it's possible, but I think Seattle's the better overall team right now.
I do want to see Matt Collins catch a couple passes. I think that'll be fun.
Yeah, you wrote about the Eagles guys. There's some Eagles connections here, right? We have on the Patriots is Milton Williams and Matt Collins and Christian Ellis.
Right. Who's playing well. He's had a great postseason for them.
He's having a good career.
Yeah.
Since leaving the Eagles. Seattle hits what? Josh Jobe?
Josh Jobe playing really well at corner for them.
Anyone else?
A couple guys on the practice squad, but
okay.
Yeah. But that's it.
Yeah, Josh Jobe's put together a nice little career.
Yeah, and he's a guy who got here as an undrafted, really raw, undrafted rookie.
Out of Alabama, right?
Yes. And he was just really handsy and really just didn't have a lot of discipline, get beat on double moves. He was always physical. He was a really physical player who was tough against the run, good tackler. But he's really kind of learned the game, learned how to be an NFL corner. It's funny, you look at the top corners, like the analytics, the top corners in the league, you see Rasul Douglas and Josh Jobe both up there with Quinyon. Some
similarities between those guys, like long corners, a little handsy at times, but
physical
in the right system, physical in the right system, though, they fit.
I never understood why Rasul Douglas has never. I mean, he's bounced around Packers, Cards, Bills, Dolphins. Here, I never understood why he never really has been able to find a home, because I think he's a really good player.
He seems to play well. I don't think he has like the speed teams are looking for, but
Yeah.
he kind of makes up for it with length. He has good ball skills.
And he's tough and he's physical. Yeah.
Yeah, you can do a lot worse than Rasul.
Yeah, he's had a nice career. He was in that Sidney Jones draft.
Yeah, he was the third round pick that year, 99 overall.
Of course you know that.
I know. Very stupid that I know that, but
did I ever tell you I was texting actually I texted Howie about something. I'm trying to remember. It might have been related to Landon Dickerson, like when they drafted him, about drafting an injured player. And he texted me, he said, This is not a Sidney Brown situation.
It's Jones.
No, he texted me Sidney Brown.
Oh, he did. That's
yeah,
funny.
he did. And then he texted me like 10 minutes later and said, I can't believe I did that. But
it's nice to know that we're not alone in doing that. Like everyone has done the Sidney Brown, Sidney Jones thing.
It's easy to do. I mean, they're both D-backs with common last names and the same first name. So,
man, I really thought Sidney Jones was going to be good.
So did I.
Yeah, I was wrong on that one. All right. I wanted to do this with you. On the last podcast, we talked about our favorite memories from the Eagles Super Bowl weeks. But we said on Thursday, we're going to talk about our favorite memories from the actual games and game day. I'll start with the one I didn't cover in 2004. What do you remember from that game and that day?
I remember I thought they were going to win, and they were really playing well. And at halftime, two key guys had to leave the game and never came back because of dehydration. It was a really muggy day, really humid. Rod Hood, the corner, who ended up being the guy that had DPI on Kevin Curtis in the 2008 NFC Championship game in Arizona. But Rod Hood never came back, and they had to go with Matt Ware, who was like a rookie third-round pick and just wasn't ready. And Todd Pinkston, who had 4 for 82 in the first half, he didn't come back. He actually never played again, towards Achilles the next summer. So that was his last NFL game. And like they're not superstars. I know everybody likes to make fun of Todd Pinkston, but he was having a big game. He had caught a deep ball early in the game, and they couldn't replace either one of those guys. And I remember, if Brady sees Matt Ware out there, his first snap out there, he went deep. I think Deion Branch down the left sideline for like a 45-yarder, set up a touchdown. And I don't know if they would have won that game if Todd Pinkston and Rod Hood hadn't left the game, but they could have.
It's so funny you're talking about Brady in that game, and then fast forward 13 years later, they faced Tom Brady again. 2017. I'll tell you, my first memory is I woke up that morning still sick as a dog, and it was -6 on my phone. It was a cold day in Minnesota.
It was. Is that your memory that you're going with? Just how cold it was?
I didn't say we had to have one each.
Okay.
We're just talking about memories from that day in that game.
Okay. I mean,
you're making this a very like structured thing.
No, I didn't know the rules.
Chatting. There are no rules. We're just chatting about our memories here.
No rules. I remember I missed the Hail Mary at the end of the game. I don't know how or why, but I didn't know about that play for like 20 minutes.
What did you think happened at the end of the game?
I don't know. I was probably panicking about my 10 observations and trying to get that done and get it in. I know I watched the play, but I didn't remember it. It was really weird. I just blanked. I knew they won the game.
That's good. That's a good start.
It was.
What color is the confetti?
Yeah. I knew that whatever the Patriots did on that play did not work, but the actual play, I must have somehow, I don't know what happened. That's never happened to me ever in my life. And I've never admitted this to anybody, but it's pretty bad. But yeah, that, and then I've told the story about how I was joking with Corey Clement during the week at Media Day, actually, about how I was an MVP voter and that I would stuff the ballot for him if he had a good game. And then he has this incredible game, like the greatest game of his life. Like, I don't know if he had 100 yards receiving at Glassboro. Probably didn't, but just being in the locker room joking about that with him. was pretty cool.
Yeah. And then he got pretty darn close.
He did.
So I remember sitting next to you at that Super Bowl, and they I guess I wasn't sitting right next to you, but I remember they were trying to collect the ballots before the game was over.
Right.
And they have since changed that, which obviously you don't know who won the game yet.
Yeah. Well, now you text it. It used to be they would hand you a piece of paper and you'd have to write.
Yeah, now you text it or email it.
Yeah. Yeah, the guy was standing behind me, waiting for my ballot. I'm like, I don't know who's going to win the game.
Yeah.
Can I just wait a second here?
It's funny because during that game, I thought they were going to lose. Because they couldn't stop Tom Brady, who was the best player in the league. And Nick was playing right with him, but it felt like they were also playing the clock, because it felt like if they played that game for another half hour, the Patriots probably win. They could not stop them.
Yeah. Well, they stopped him on the one play they had to.
They did, yeah.
I remember I wrote down Brady and Foles on my MVP ballot, and I told the guy, look, I'm just going to cross one name out when the game's over. And just to save time, I wouldn't have to write a name down. And so I handed the thing. I said, just cross out Brady and circle Foles.
I have one other memory from that one. Who was the Eagles' defensive line coach then? A big bear of a guy.
Oh, yeah.
Chris Wilson.
Yeah.
Chris Wilson. So I remember during the week, I talked to him and he was like, we just got to be patient against Brady. I remember him telling me that just kind of offhand, we might not get him the whole game, but we're going to make one play on him. He was very convinced of that. And I saw him not even in the locker room. I saw him in the tunnel as I was leaving. And he was like, I was right.
Did he say that?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
he
great.
remembered that conversation and he was happy about the way it turned out.
I remember just being at the BG little podium. They had that room with 10 podiums, if you remember.
Yeah, and that was fun because we split up. Now these are stories that will go down in history. But you wrote about BG, I wrote about the Phillies special. You wrote about Nick Foles. I wrote all these crazy storylines that have when I walked down there, I didn't know the play was called the Philly special. My job was to write about the trick play they ran.
Yeah, I can't remember when we learned the name of it. Also, the other thing, and I've probably mentioned this before, was I was in the Nick Foles presser, and it was, you can imagine how many, there was 1,000 people in this room squeezed in. And it was one of those deals where you had to raise your hand and somebody from the league would come over with a mic. And I'm like, I have no shot to get a question in. But they're like, one more question for Nick. And I raised my hand and the guy comes over with a mic and you're supposed to say your name and your affiliation. And obviously Nick knows who I am. I was like, Roob and Frank, Comcast Sportsnet, which we were back then. And Nick looks at me, he says, hey, Roob, thanks for coming. Which is the most Nick Foles thing imaginable. And they gave me a great answer.
How about 2022, that Super Bowl? That day, I remember it was a lot nicer weather-wise. I was outside and I wasn't bundled up. That was nice.
Yeah, it started off really hot. It got really cold by the end of the day. For me, it was halftime, just they're going to win this game. There was no doubt in my mind. They're up 10. Man,
watching Patrick Mahomes limp off the field at halftime, I was right with you. I thought they're winning this game.
I remember walking. We were in the NBC compound way out in the parking lot. You were out there. It's kind of maybe half a mile from the stadium. I don't know. And I remember at halftime walking down that scaffolding we were on with Jaws, and just we both thought this game was over. They're up 10, and they just couldn't finish it.
Yeah. Obviously, the name Jonathan Gannon will forever be a trigger for people because of that game and the way things led up to that game and the way it followed after. But I always appreciated James Bradbury after that game, just standing at his locker, answering all the questions about what had to be the worst moment of his NFL career.
Yeah, he was a stand-up guy. He said, yeah, it was a penalty.
Hope they wouldn't call it. They did.
Yeah. The one thing that sticks in my mind from the game itself was that Kadarius Toney punt return, and just how, they were down 1 at that point, and they had a chance to get the ball back in good field position with some time left. But I think he returned it back down to the 5, and that was ball game. and they had him penned in. I mean, there was like 6 guys around him, and he'd never been a punt returner. He had like his longest career punt return before that was like 12 yards or 9 yards or something. And it was such a fluky play. He was just a bad player. He wasn't a good punt returner, and they were really good covering punts that year. But the guys surrounded him and left like a back door for him to get out, and he escaped, and just ran up the right sideline, and it was just that was the ball game. I mean, they scored and it was over. It's one of the worst plays I've ever seen, which is the most unfortunate Eagles plays. I mean, you put that with like the worst plays in Eagles history. If we did that list, that would be in there for me.
Sure. How about last year, Super Bowl game day?
I don't remember anything about it. I blacked out the whole game. No. I mean, it was different because I was back in the studio. I was back in Philly for the game. I flew back, went to see Sharon Van Etten, and then we did the show in the studio. So that was really different. I kind of felt, and I was down there all week, but I kind of felt it was different. The thing I remember is just like how suddenly they were up. What was their biggest lead? Like 40-6 or something?
It was huge.
And it just happened so quickly, and they were just playing perfect game. And against that team and that coach and that quarterback. And it was like, there was just feeling of disbelief watching it. And I just remember how mad everyone was when they scored a couple touchdowns at the end to kind of make the score look a little closer, because of course I had all these stats like biggest Super Bowl blowout and everything. Yeah. But
it really was, though. It really
was.
is, as CJ Gardner-Johnson would say.
Yeah. It was just such a thorough. I mean, I just remember thinking, I'm watching one of the greatest teams ever assembled here.
Yeah, totally agree. That one for me was different because I got to be an MVP voter, so that was fun. And honestly, I've joked about this. I think I was the only person who was nervous in the stadium. Like, it was a blowout game, but at halftime, I'm like, I don't know who I'm voting for. At that time, it probably would have been Josh Sweat.
Right.
Then it was tough for me, and it became like an inquiry after the game, like, who did you vote for? Mike Florio went on like a quest to find out who everyone voted for. And I was happy to say, like, I ended up voting for Jalen Hurts, but at halftime, I was leaning toward Josh Sweat, but then it was like, man, how do I single out one player on defense? Like, it could have been Cooper DeJean for that one play. Then Milton Williams ends up with a couple sacks. Like, there were just so many players, and that was kind of like what made it such a great team win, was like, there wasn't one player to me who really stood out, but everyone else was like having fun, enjoying the blowout. And I was so nervous about who I was going to vote for.
It is a big responsibility. I mean, it's like Super Bowl MVP is such a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So you just want to get it right. Did you vote? Do you vote for 3 guys now, or is just one?
Just one name.
Yeah. Who would your top 3 have been?
It would have been Sweat second, and then probably Cooper DeJean third, because Milton, even though we had the 2 sacks, like, they kind of came later.
I might have gone Cooper too.
Over Sweat.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because I mean, that play,
it was one play, but it was a huge play.
Yeah.
Would you have gone Jalen first?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was so good in that game. Maybe the best he's ever been.
Honestly, I think he was better in the previous Super Bowl minus the fumble.
Yeah, but you can't.
I know. Yeah.
Can't get rid of the fumble. That was rough. I also think that the pass to Devontae might have been the best pass he's ever thrown.
It's the one, like, it's funny, like the pick 6 was the bigger play, but if you ask people like what's the one play they remember from that game, I kind of bet more people would say the dagger. It has a fun name, the package with it, but yeah, I think because that was the moment where you're like, oh, they're winning the Super Bowl.
Like, and there's the videos come out of Nick, telling Patullo to call it, which is pretty cool.
Kellen,
yeah.
Patullo wasn't.
No, he wasn't. He was there.
He was there.
But yeah, Kellen. That was a magical day.
Yeah. All right, that was fun. Super Bowl memories. Maybe we'll have some more over the next few years. We'll find out soon enough. Let's do some questions.
Yeah.
Eagle Eye at NBCUni.com QR
I can't believe I
code.
said Patullo.
It definitely wasn't him.
No.
QR code on the screen. You can scan that and send us a question that way. How about this first one from TJ? I never thought the feeling of losing a mere position coach would ever rival the gut-wrenching feeling of the Eagles losing a Super Bowl, but here we are. Thank you, Jeff Stoutland, for all you have done for the city and fan base. You are a Philly Hall of Famer. Yeah, just nice. We got a few of those. It's kind of crazy that a position coach means like it's. I don't think there's another city in the world where an offensive line coach leaves and everyone freaks out like this, but he deserves that. I mean, he was that good for that long.
He was.
From Dan, with Jeff Stoutland leaving the Eagles this evening, are the Eagles suddenly a toxic organization? There is this A.J. Brown saga going on, reports of Jalen Hurts not connecting with teammates, all the top OC candidates seemingly steering clear of taking the helm of a potent offense. All this is leading to believe there are some major problems within the confines of the NovaCare complex.
I mean, this is a franchise that's won 2 Super Bowls in the last 8 years and been to 3. So they're doing something right. I think there's been some unfortunate things happen this year, and Stout's, that situation is one of them. AJ's frustration boiling over is another one. But I don't think that's the case. I don't think the whole thing's falling to pieces. Like you can come up with these reasons to kind of support that, but I don't see it. I don't think that's happening. I think they're going to be good again.
Yeah, it's funny. It does feel, especially like under Nick, there's always drama with this team. There's always something going on. They're not just like a boring good team. It always feels like they're teetering on the edge of excellence and dysfunction at all times. Like there's always like some sort of dysfunction going on, but then they're also really good. It's entertaining. I mean, for fans, it's probably like the best of both worlds in a way. It's like you get to have a good team, but also get worked up about stuff, which is a fun part of being a fan.
Yeah, you get to call for the coach to be fired every offseason and go to the Super Bowl every other year.
Yeah. So. It is kind of crazy. It doesn't feel like that, though. It feels like, man, they're really close to being a Super Bowl team, or they're really close to it all falling apart at just about any particular moment.
Yeah. Yeah, they're different. And I think that comes from Nick. I mean, he's
volatile.
That's a good word for it. Yeah. And it's funny because he's always preaching calmness and even keel.
He always says that. And like a lot of the things he says, he does not live.
That's fair.
He preaches like calmness. Like he always talks about the flight attendants. Like when you're on a plane, you look at the flight attendants, and if they're not freaking out, you're not going to freak out. And he says he wants to be that. And then you watch him on the sideline, and he's a lunatic. Like, if a flight attendant acted like that, you'd think the plane's going down.
He would not be a good flight attendant. He would not instill confidence in the pilot.
I don't think so. But Winslow. Next one from Ryan. Hey again, Roob and Dave. I personally love A.J. Brown and hope he's back in the team next year. As you've both brought up, it's hard to imagine willfully parting ways with a player of his caliber. But if the relationship is truly fractured beyond repair, then Howie may not have another choice. If this happens, I'm more than confident that Devontae can step up into that wide receiver 1 role, and I believe he'd be a starter on most teams in the league. However, we would need a new number 2, and I don't think Darius Cooper is quite ready to take that leap. This brings me to Jahan Dotson. Do you think Howie would consider trying to bring Dotson back on a team-friendly prove-it deal?
I don't think Jahan Dotson wants to be here. And this is a guy who was a first-round pick, fairly high first-round pick, and started a couple of years in Washington and just couldn't get the ball in 2 years here. Now maybe a new OC comes in and says, we're going to really, work to, if AJ's not here, we want you to be number 2. And I think he handled the situation really well, and he caught the ball most of the time it came his way when he had a chance to catch it. But I'm not sure he's good enough to be WR2, and I'm not sure he wants to be here after the way the last 2 years have gone.
Yeah, I think he's a better player than his production over the last 2 years would suggest, but I also don't know if he's a no doubt like starter
Yeah.
in the league.
Yeah, I mean, his 2 years in Washington, I mean, he had like 500 yards, and he was targeted a lot, and he was starting opposite McLaurin. So I don't think that's the route that they would go. I think they would either sign somebody or draft somebody fairly high. And I think Darius Cooper has a chance to be a really good player, but we just don't know. You can't count on that. You can't rely on it.
Yeah, I think you keep developing him. You hope he turns into a real player, but like you can't go into a season relying on production from a guy who's second year as an undrafted player.
Had like 9 catches all year, maybe 10.
I am very bullish on Darius Cooper, though.
I like the kid. There's a lot to like about him. You just can't make that jump.
Yeah, you can't operate that way, especially if this team thinks its window is open, which I still think it is. But yeah, we'll do one more.
Yeah.
This one is from Byron, and we've had different versions of this question, so I'm glad to get it in. Hello, gents. I have a trade idea. Let's trade A.J. Brown to the Raiders for Max Crosby. I don't know how the cap situation would work or what picks would swap, but there are 2 players who aren't happy where they are. It works perfect for both. Fernando Mendoza will have a number 1 receiver to throw to, a tight end, and Genty in the backfield, assuming they take a quarterback with the first pick. For the Eagles, Crosby fills a huge role, and they get a number 1 pass rusher. Crosby expressed how much he likes the passion in Philly, so will fit right in. What are your thoughts? Any pushback on this idea? Keep up the good work.
Yeah, you laid out the case pretty well. Not sure AJ would want to go from here to there, but
yeah, I mean, he could probably be sold on the idea of, and also if you trade him, you trade him. Like, tough.
Sure,
you don't get to dictate everything.
Yeah,
but you probably sell them on like, hey, you have a young quarterback. They have a really exciting young coach out there. Some pieces in place. You'll get your numbers.
Love to see. I mean, that, getting Max Crosby out here would certainly give you a little depth, that edge that they might not have.
Yeah. And he's awesome. I mean, he's such a, he kind of like, he's a Vic Fangio player too. Like he's high effort, doesn't leave the frickin' field, which is crazy as an edge player, which also gives me a little concern about like, as he gets older, is his body going to break down? But yeah, I mean, I think he'd be an excellent fit in the city and the defense. But it's very rare to see a trade like this. Like these trades, they happen in some other sports. They don't really happen in football like this.
Happen in the NBA all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you don't get those type of player for player, elite player for elite player type of trades. I don't know what his contract is, but I'm sure the cap stuff would be tough. But how he can deal with that? Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Speaking of trades, what did you think of the Sixers trade, Jared McCain?
I really like McCain. I guess the thinking was you're getting some picks, and the way Edgecombe has been playing, and you have Maxey. Where was he going to fit in the long haul? But I really like. He's been shooting great the last like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I hate to see him go, but they got some picks, so yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I was a little bummed. I liked him.
Yeah, I do too.
Oh, well, if you have a question for us, eagle-eye at nbcuni.com, QR code on the screen for another second. We also want to remind you, if you enjoy the Eagle Eye podcast, please do us a favor, rate and subscribe wherever you get your pods. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the like button and subscribe there as well. Roob, any big Super Bowl plans?
I'm going to watch the game.
Okay, that's a good start. No Super Bowl parties or anything.
No, beyond that, I don't really have any specific plans. Probably sit on the couch and do some Super Bowl stats.
Okay. Check out our boy Lincoln, the Eagle, in a Super Bowl commercial with the Clydesdales.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've already seen that commercial. It's funny, now you see the commercials before the Super Bowl. I don't really know when that started. I'd prefer to just see them during the game, but I'm happy for Lincoln to make his Super Bowl commercial debut. He deserves it.
Does he have any incentives in his contract on making the Super Bowl?
I'll have to look into that. Yeah, not sure.
So. Yeah.
All right. That's all for today. For Reuben Frank, I'm Dave Zangaro. This has been Eagle Eye, presented by Nissan. Enjoy the Super Bowl. Have a good time, and we'll talk to you soon.